Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. Today I want to talk a little bit about making the transition from the basement to the garage. It's been a couple of months. Update you on my feels, and there's been a lot more hardships. That's right, hardships of training in the garage than I ever anticipated. And truth be told, I'm a basement boy at heart. You know that. Screen name, Basement Brandon on Instagram. Channel name, Base Barbell on YouTube. And even though you can take the Brandon out of the basement, you can never really take the basement out of the Brandon, and I will be making a return once our new house is built. But in the interim, training here at the rental house in the garage, I want to just give you some feedback on some things I've found. And the reason I'm doing this is I needed initially a new audio system for the garage because my old one wouldn't fit, wouldn't work. And for this, when Cove reached out to me and offered me their commuter Bluetooth speaker, which I've seen on a couple of channels, including Brian Alsrew and Nick Wright, I thought this was a perfect fit for number one for me because I needed a new thing to play music in the garage, but also it would let me make this video and talk about some of the other difficulties I've come across. Now this thing's nice because it's a normal mode, which is okay, but a bass mode, which sounds a lot better in my opinion. It's portable, meaning I can move it anywhere in the gym, but if I want to do something else, like go outside and grill in the backyard, this can come with me. If I want to go to the beach, this can come with me. I want to throw this in a bag or a backpack, this can come with me. If I spend too much money on the gym equipment and I want to have a nice sounding car system instead, I can put this in my cup holder and bring this with me. And it has a 30-foot range, so Bluetooth works fine. It also comes with cables if you want to hook it up with a 3.5mm jack. And it has an 8-hour battery life, and again, sounds very good. Has a subwoofer, which is pretty cool because you can feel it drive as you bump that bass. And if you want one, you can actually get one using the link below and the code Brandon65 for 65% off. So thanks to Cove for sponsoring this video. I appreciate it because that was one of the issues I had with going with the garage gym. And again, I'll expand on that in just a little bit. But first, let's talk about garage gyms in general. I think like most of you, I picture the ideal garage gym of being able to come to it, open the door, be welcomed by your iron paradise, have a nice breeze come in from the outside, blast some music while you're feeling that breeze and hitting some heavy weights. And that's what I had envisioned. It's not really how it happened because this is an active garage. Not active in the sense where we're parking our car in here, thankfully, but active in every other sense of the way, meaning that we use this to store a lot of our crap. Now, luckily, my wife's been nice enough to let me use this for a gym, and I have a small defined space where I have the actual rack behind me, I have a platform in front of me, and that's pretty much all I need. So I don't need a ton of space for while I train, thankfully. But I haven't been able to expand upon any other equipment, and you guys know I had to sell a lot of my other equipment from the basement in order to make space. So that's been a trade-off that I've had. But that being said, when I opened the garage door, I'm greeted by a bunch of my son's toys. He just got a brand new riding tractor for his birthday from my sister, so thank you very much, Danielle. Really appreciate that. There's lawnmowers in here. There's other stuff that the owners of this property, because it was a rental, have stored in the garage. It smells like lawn clippings, gasoline, oil. Because the garage door is open, it's also open to all the other elements, so it gets super dirty. There's lots of bugs in here, spider webs. It's not necessarily that ideal space that you may have thought it could be. Now, truth be told, if I own this property, there's probably a lot more work I could do to make it more homey and more inviting, but that's just not something that I want to invest in since it's only a short-term rental for us. Now, having the garage door open again has also led to a lot of other issues. Number one, here in the summer, it's been really hot. So average training temperature for me has been between 90 to 95 degrees. Way hotter than I'm used to and very difficult to train, sweating a lot more. I used to never really sweat in the basement, so that's something I've had to get used to. And just generally overall, moving around and doing the work has been a lot more difficult and exhausting than I've been accustomed to. So I feel for all you guys in Texas and Florida and those other hot, humid areas. Now, luckily, it's not very hot and humid here, but still the open air environment and the warmer temperatures has also led me to have to do a lot more maintenance on my equipment, specifically my barbells. I have a couple bare steel bars and they're oxidizing a lot faster. Previously, I could get away with maybe cleaning them every 6 weeks. It's literally been like an every week thing for me now, or even after every single training session, just to keep up on it so they never get too bad. That's been a big adjustment for me as well. Also, because it's open air environment here and there's people coming in and out to mow the lawn, get kid toys, myself coming here to train, it's a lot of dirt and debris gets in here also. So I'm having to clean the gym pretty much every single week. Now, luckily for me, the way I clean it is basically by just turning on my leaf blower and blowing all the debris out, but it's still something that I have to do to actively try to keep this place somewhat clean. And no matter how hard I try, it always tends to get very dirty the next day. So it's just one of those things that I've had to kind of live with a little bit. I've mentioned how hot it is, how difficult it is to train in here, and I can have a fan hooked up, which kind of pushes the air around a bit, makes it a little bit more bearable, but it's still difficult. But not as difficult as I imagine it's going to be once the winter comes. Obviously, the garage door will be down, so you lose that functionality of training in the garage. But here in New England, it can get very, very cold. Luckily, in the basement, it stayed pretty temperate all year round. So I think the coldest the basement got was around 40 degrees, and that's even with it being below zero outside. And the warmest it ever got was 70 degrees, which at the time I thought was very, very hot. But I've experienced a whole new level of hot here, training in the 95-degree Rhode Island heat. The downside of training in the garage is, even though there's ways to manipulate the temperature, whether it be fans, air conditioners, space heaters, you have a wider range of stuff you have to work with. So for instance, I thought 40 degrees was very cold to train in. It's enough to see your breath. And it is, that's cold. But with a space heater, it would bump the temperature up about 10 to 15 degrees and make it more bearable. I could still use a space heater here in the garage, but the garage isn't insulated as well as a basement is. And on top of that, if you're at 0 degrees in a garage and you're only bumping it up 15 degrees, which in the basement seems like a lot, in the garage, it's still going to only be 15 degrees, which is way too cold to train in. So I'm definitely not looking forward to that. And it's going to be very much of a test of will when that time comes. I'm not looking forward to it. I'll find out a solution and I'll make a video, I'm sure, but that's something I'm not really looking forward to. Also, having the garage door open, I mentioned the music factor before. I don't have a lot of receptacles here for electric, and everything I have plugged in right now pretty much goes through one electrical outlet. So I have my garage door plugged in there, my clock with my temperature gauge, which right now it's only 87, so it's actually pretty cool in here considering to how it's been. Have all my lighting for videos. I have the fan plugged in. It doesn't really allow me a lot of other plugs to have in bigger pieces of audio equipment like I had in the past, where I had a TV, a sound bar, subwoofer, and whatnot. So again, that's where this commuter speaker from Cove really has come into play and allows me to move it around a little bit. Not to mention, because the garage door is open, I can't blast the music as loud as I'd like because my neighbors are going to hear it.
Let your homies know who done it. Cause when it comes to this gangster shit, you motherfuckers know who run it. We're standing up for our own shit. And if you with this motherfucker to the test, you gotta realize nigga, you fucking with the very bitch. I got this killer up inside of me. I can't talk to my mother, so I talk to my diary.
So having something that's portable and I can move it with me so it's always close, I don't have to turn up the volume as loud, especially when the fan and other things are going, like outside noise, people driving by, birds, planes, mowing lawns, which you may be able to hear a little bit on these videos, which again is a downside for me filming. Speaking of downsides for filming on these videos, the lighting isn't always great. Yes, natural lighting can be cool if the sun's nice and bright, but it's also not very consistent. It's probably why you notice that behind me I have a banner covering the window. There's another door here with a window that's covered. I do have the garage door open right now just because it's so hot that you're probably getting a little bit of light on my face. But if there's clouds that come by, the ISO is going to adjust because I have it on ISO auto, and you're going to get some changes in what the actual video looks like. So that can be difficult as well, although for most people, it's not a downside because most people don't film themselves in their garage doing this kind of stuff. Another thing with the garage, even though it's nice because again, the space is taller, the ceiling's taller, it's not always conducive to doing things. So I'm finally able to do standing overhead press, which I have never been able to do before, which is awesome, but it comes at an interesting walkout. So I actually have to like walk out my overhead press by taking 2 steps back from the rack and then a step to the right. Otherwise, the actual weights themselves would hit this post that's right above my head. I've played around with a couple different configurations, but this one that it's currently in leaves the most space for all that other stuff that I've mentioned. And not to mention with the garage door, there's other stuff hanging down. There's actually a very old type hardwired heater in, which is from 1960s, which does not work. And I'm not willing to pay to get fixed because again, not my space, not my problem. But I have to really kind of work some cookie cutter type solutions to do overhead stuff in here. So you don't really get to kind of benefit from having the taller ceiling, so to say. Other than that, it's been doable. Like I said, this is a temporary situation, so I can definitely manage. But at the end of the day, I'm still a basement guy at heart. And maybe once I spend some winter time in here, I can make a full comparison video of pros and cons for both basements and garages. So that case, if you're in question of which one you should go with, you can make the best informed decision. At least informed decisions based off my own personal preferences. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.